They just hugged for the first time. Drags her across the campsite and it's this is when they get together. It's like so embarrassing to say, spiraling about how hot his smile is. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new, and welcome to another 24-hour reading challenge. I'm so excited. I actually really do like doing these videos, and honestly throughout the rest of the year I think I'm going to do quite a few more just because they're a really fun challenge. They're really easy to film because I just do like 2 days of reading, and I feel like sitting down and focusing on reading for 2 days straight really motivates me to prioritize reading over screen time. There you go, he dropped his toy. And kind of just doing things that feel more like a waste of time rather than like a productive hobby like reading, and something that I feel like helps my mental health. So I'm really excited, especially going into holiday season, to do quite a few more 24-hour reading challenges. So for today's reading challenge, we have a little bit of a theme. I'm going to be reading only 5-star predictions. I have a little stack of books in front of me. These are all books that I think have a very high chance of being 5 stars, books that I am highly anticipating, and I'm so excited to get into today's reading vlog because I feel like it's going to be a great few days of reading if all of these end up being as good as I'm hoping that they will be. So to really quickly go over our little 24-hour challenge TBR before we get into reading, first of all, I have Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This is genuinely like one of my highest anticipated books. This is kind of like the second chance marriage trope. It follows high school sweethearts who have been married for a long time. I don't know how long they've been married, but a very long time, and their relationship is kind of rocky, and they decide to do a little couples retreat in the woods to try and bond and repair their relationship. I'm so excited. I feel like there's no way this is not going to be 5 stars for me because I have discovered this year that my favorite contemporary romance trope is second chance marriage. So very excited to get into this. After that, I have Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. This will be my first book by her, but she is a very highly anticipated author for me because of the way that people talk about her writing and her storylines and stuff. I just feel like it really lines up with what I feel like I have grown to like the most in contemporary romance, with things having like a very deeply emotional undercurrent and still being like really sexy and hot and flirty, and like I love spice and smut and all that stuff, but I also just realized that I really need really deeply emotional plotline as well, and I feel like her books will have that, hopefully, and I'm really excited. So this follows a surprise pregnancy, which I recently read my very first surprise pregnancy trope and I loved it so much. I read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, and that was a 5-star for me. It was so good, and I really think that I actually like the trope, which I didn't think that I would like it, but again, I'm surprising myself, and I actually think that I really like the surprise pregnancy trope as someone who obviously has had kids. It just was like pulling on my heartstrings, so I think I'm going to really like this. I'm so excited to get into this, and also this author's books just have like the cutest covers ever, so I'm so excited to get into this. The next one that I have is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and this one I actually have started. I've been reading it like just very slowly over the last few weeks, and I think I'm about halfway into this and I'm liking it so much, you guys. This is my first Mariana Zapata book. I've wanted to read a Mariana Zapata book for the longest time because I watched Heather McClary's YouTube videos and she loves Mariana Zapata. This is actually the collab that she did with, I think it's Eternal Embers. Where are you going? You gonna sit back down? Okay. This is the collab that she did with, I believe it's Eternal Embers. They did The Wall of Winnipeg and Me and All Roads Lead Here, so I decided to start with The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. This is a fake marriage sports romance, and it is such a slow burn that it's genuinely making me feel like I have never read a slow burn before. I'm currently, I believe, 312 pages into the book, and they just hugged for the first time. And it was so good. It literally was so good. Our main character in this book has anxiety, and one of my favorite scenes so far was the MMC like just so perfectly talking her through a panic attack. It was so good. So I'm so excited to finish this. This is one that we will definitely be finishing. I went into this definitely thinking it was going to be a 5-star just because I love slow burn romances. I feel like especially the way that Mariana Zapata has been talked about, like her books are so slow burn that I felt like there was going to be a really good like emotional buildup, which again, as I've said, I feel like is something that I really like in contemporary romance. And so far I feel like that has turned out to be true. I really like her writing style because since it is such a slow burn and there's so much buildup, I feel like she leaves a lot of room for like so much conversation. Like there's so much left in here about like the character's thought process when anything is happening. Like she really lets her characters just ramble on in their heads, which I really like as a rambler myself. I really like getting to see that in her characters and see their every thought behind everything, and just get to see so many conversations between the characters that I feel like a lot of other books would have just cut out to get like straight to the chase, but I kind of like just seeing all of the different conversations and thought processes. So I'm so excited to finish this one. I have very high hopes and I cannot wait to see how it ends and how our characters finally end up coming together, because like I said, I'm very far into the book and like they just hugged for the first time and it was like, it gave me butterflies. So I'm so excited to get farther into that one. The next one that I have is Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. I randomly picked this one up at Barnes the other day. This is supposed to be a fake dating, like opposites attract romance. And this book I think has really good neurodivergent representation. I believe the FMC is autistic and the MMC has anxiety. So I'm really excited. I always love reading about that in books because it just makes me feel really, really seen. And I love seeing how the characters kind of navigate that and support each other and make each other feel seen throughout the book. So I'm really excited to get into this one. I will say this is like the first book in an interconnected trilogy, I believe. And I think the other two books in this series people don't like nearly as much as this one. So I think this might be the only one that I read out of that interconnected trilogy. It was kind of the only one out of the three books that kind of caught my eye. So we'll see when I finish this one how much I like it and if I want to pick up the other books in this trilogy or not. And then the very last book on our little TBR of books that I can choose from is Light Lark by Alex Astor. I'm so excited to finally be reading this book. I have wanted to pick up this series ever since it first started coming out, but I just had so many books on my TBR that I never got around to getting a copy and wanting to start it. And this book, like when it first came out, I feel like this along with Powerless by Lauren Roberts were both just so popular, and I ended up choosing Powerless to start by Lauren Roberts, and I obviously love that trilogy so much. And so for this one, it kind of became a thing where I was like, okay, I have to wait until I'm like in the mood to read it. And finally the other day I thought about it and I was like, I think the time is right. Like I think I'm in the mood to start it. So I went out and I got the first 3 books. And I'm so excited to get into this. I don't really know anything about this series. I have avoided watching like any videos on this like the plague because I wanted to go into it as blind as possible. I don't even know what it follows, honestly. It's like set in a world where every 100 years there's like an island that magically appears, and people from all the different realms in this world are able to send competitors to like survive in a competition, I believe, and whoever wins the competition wins a magical prize that I think will help save the people of their realm from like a curse or something. Honestly, I don't know. That's like the best that I can come up with what this is about. I honestly just want to go into this one really blind because I have really high hopes about this series. The other thing I know about the series is apparently there is a really good love triangle to the point where like I'm pretty sure she's like on book 4 of this series, and she also just came out with a novella, and I think the love triangle is still going. Like their people are still like either team, I think it's Oro or Grimm, I think are the 2 names, I don't know. So I'm very excited to see which team I'm on and like experience the love triangle for myself and see what goes down in this trilogy. So those are the 5 books. Yes, 5 books on today's little TBR that I can choose from. I honestly don't think that I will finish all of these because typically in a 24-hour reading challenge I will finish 2 to 3 books, like maybe 4 sometimes. I will say my chances are a little bit higher because this one I am like almost done with. I think it's probably going to take me like 2 to 3 hours to finish this one. Out of the Woods and Ready or Not I feel like are going to be very quick reads. Honestly, maybe even Two Wrongs Make a Right. I feel like contemporary romance are the quickest ones for me to read. I'm not expecting to finish all of these. We'll just go along and see how it goes, but these are the books that I'm going to be choosing from for today's video. And I'm just going to kind of mood read my way through them and just pick up whatever feels right. So I think I honestly want to start off with Out of the Woods. I don't know if this is a good decision or a bad decision because I think that this is the book that I'm most highly anticipating in this stack. Because of that, like I said, I want to just let myself mood read through my TBR, and if I'm going strictly off of mood reading, like this is what I think I'm the most in the mood for. I'm like going between that and Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Honestly, I'm in the mood to read all of these. Like I'm so excited to read all of these. I really hope that I have enough time to read all of them, but we'll just have to see like how it's going, how my ADHD decides to act up today, and if it's gonna let me concentrate on these books or not, because that definitely plays a huge role into how many books I am able to read in a 24-hour reading challenge. Like sometimes if I have my ADHD kind of under control, then I'm able to get a little bit more reading done, but sometimes it's like I accidentally zone out for 2 hours and then come back to and realize that I've wasted 2 hours of the 24-hour reading challenge. So we'll just have to see how it goes, but for now we are going to start off with Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young, and I am so excited. So let's get into it. officially reached the halfway point in Out of the Woods. I think I'm like literally just over halfway through, and I'm really enjoying this so far. Honestly, I feel like not too much has happened. Like they're basically on their third day of the little couples retreat, but I feel like what I'm enjoying the most about this book is the fact that it's like genuinely 80% about just their conversations and them kind of like talking through everything, which I really like. Like the more that I read contemporary romance and like try and figure out exactly what my taste is in contemporary romance, I think that that's one huge thing that ends up making me really like a book, is like how well the two main characters converse and like how well they kind of like are able to talk through their problems and things like that. Like communication is like such a huge thing for me, and I'm realizing that that translates into books as well. But I'm really enjoying it so far. So it's like a then and now perspective, which I didn't know that going into it, so that's been really interesting. You kind of start in the beginning of the book, the then perspective, like when they very first meet. They were like, how old were they? I think they were like 14 when they very first met or something. So you literally get taken back all the way to when they very first met, and then you kind of jump back and forth between a new memory from the past and then another moment in the present while they're like at the little retreat thing. So that's been really good. It's been really interesting to kind of get a lot of the key moments that like built up their relationship versus them in the current, obviously trying to like work out some of their problems. And it's so funny because I feel like the type of FMC that we have in this book, she's very like anxious and in her head and stubborn, and honestly whenever she gets hurt she kind of like is very defensive and like accidentally mean, and I feel like that is the type of thing that would make a lot of people really not like an FMC, but unfortunately I see so much of myself in her. If I'm being completely honest, it's like so humbling to like have a main character where you're like, oh, she's being so annoying, and then at the same time be like, yeah, and that's exactly what I would say if I was upset, and that's like not a good thing. Like it's not a good way to react. And so it's honestly kind of therapeutic to like see a character who kind of has some of the same red flags as you do in arguments where like she doesn't respond the correct way, and like to get to see her kind of work through those problems and like talk with the group and like kind of uncover what triggers those for her. I don't know, I just feel like it's really interesting to see that, like to relate to a character but like not in the best way. I think that that's like just really interesting. That's never really happened. I feel like normally whenever I relate to a character it's like about something else. It's not necessarily like, ooh, I see my flaws reflected in the character. I feel like that's a truly humbling experience, but that's been really interesting. I really love reading like second chance marriage books, or like marriage in crisis, I guess this would technically be, because like they're still married and they're like trying to work through their problems. But I think I just really like it because of the conversations the couple has to have, and like because it's just so relatable to have like so many small things that turn into big issues, or like it's just so realistic to see them have to like talk to each other and like work out these issues, if that makes sense. I'm really enjoying it. There's been so many things that I have like just randomly highlighted. That's so many tabs for the first half of the book. I feel like they're all just like random little moments where they'll say something to each other, and it will just like remind me so much of like conversations that me and Mark have had in the past, or like I've had so many highlights because like obviously I said the FMC was really reminding me of myself and a lot of the ways that she kind of spirals about things or like handles certain situations and things like that. But also the MMC, there's so many things that he has said, or like so many ways that he has responded to situations that like really remind me of Marky, which that's like every book that I read. I feel like I tell Marky all the time that like every single book that I read I end up like finding him in the book, if that makes sense. Like every single time that people ask me like, oh, what do you highlight in books, like one of the main things is just like when characters do things that remind me of something that Marky would do, or like reminds me of something that Marky has done or something he would say, or just reminds me of Marky, which I feel like that sounds so stupid, but there's like so many highlights in here where I'm just like, oh, that's so sweet, and that's literally exactly what Marky would have done in the situation, or like just things like that. So that's been really cute as well. I like love whenever I'm reading books and there's like so many things that just reminds me of Marky, and like I don't know, I think that that's one reason I really like reading romance too, because it just like reminds me of all the reasons that I love Marky. That sounds so cheesy. It's like so embarrassing to say, but just being completely honest about like what I'm liking about the book and like how it's going. So yeah, that's pretty much all of my updates. I feel like right now I'm feeling like this is already a really solid 4-star, and I feel like depending on how the second half of the book goes, because obviously right now they're like just under halfway through the wilderness retreat, so they haven't really fully, well not even fully, they haven't really made progress with like their issues and stuff. I feel like honestly because we're halfway through, their issues are kind of like peaking right now, because like they went into the wilderness retreat and they like were both optimistic about like, okay, okay, let's be open, let's talk about everything, like let's make it through this and all this stuff. But as they've been there and like kind of started to talk through their emotions with the group, it's kind of like uncovered some other issues and almost like made it worse, or like they're feeling like it's just making it worse and like they're not actually getting better, which I feel like is very much like starting therapy. Like when I first started trying to work through some of my issues and like started actually like acknowledging all the issues, and when you first start like talking to a therapist or talking to somebody or even just like being open with yourself, it definitely feels like everything just gets so much worse because you're actually acknowledging all the issues and not just kind of like sweeping them under the rug. So it definitely feels like everything is worse because now everything is out in the open. But I'm assuming that within the next few days of their wilderness retreat that they'll start to kind of open up to each other and things will start to go better. So I'm really, really interested to see that. There was this one part of the book, I think it was like their first night at the wilderness retreat or something. They like had finished this really, really hard hike and got to their first camping spot. And it was literally so funny because they were sitting at the table and she's like, oh my God, my legs hurt so bad. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna walk back to the tent. And then she kind of looks at him and he's like, well, I don't know how you're gonna get, like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, drag you? And she's like, really? You would consider dragging me across the campsite to the tent before you would consider carrying me? And he was like, listen, my back hurts from that hike. Like, I cannot carry you anywhere. And she goes, okay, just drag me. And so he does. He literally drags her across the campsite. And it was so funny because they got like halfway there and she like leans her head back and she's like, ooh, I forgot my water at the table. Can you go back and get it? And I'm like, that just made me laugh so much because I feel like it's such a quintessential spouse thing to like get cozy in bed and then you like look over and you're like, can you get my water? Because the amount of times I do that to Marky and he's just like, but he always goes and gets it for me. So I just thought that was really funny. And then they like make it back to the tent and she's like cuddled up in her sleeping bag and stuff like that. And her husband looks at her and goes, oh, like since you said you're not tired yet, like do you want me to get your e-reader? And she's like, oh, I didn't pack it. Like I figured that it would be pointless because it would die anyway and all that stuff. And he kind of like smirks and he goes, well, I actually packed it for you and I bought a solar powered charger so that it wouldn't die while we're here. Like I didn't want you to lose your reading streak. Aren't you on like day 100 of reading in a row? And she literally like tears up and she's like, I was really sad about losing my reading streak. Like thank you so much for bringing it. And so she ends up reading a little romance novel, which I just thought was so cute. And that's again just something that like Marky would do for me. And so there's just like so many little things like that where I'm like, oh, that's just so sweet and so cute. And it just like, I don't know, it just makes me so happy. Like books like this, romance books like this are the reason that I love contemporary romance because it's just like so comforting to read. And especially like Marriage in Crisis, second chance romance, like as someone who has been married for a while now, there's just something so comforting about seeing characters who are going through similar situations that I have been through, or like, I mean, not necessarily that I've been through all the exact arguments in this, but it's just like, it feels very realistic because it's like, no, these are definitely real things that you go through after you've been with your partner long term, or like, especially like how they were high school sweethearts. Like it's such a different thing to meet someone at such a young age and then like grow into adults with that same person because you just become so many different versions of yourself along that time period. And like, let alone that, but like also becoming parents with each other at such a young age. It's just like, I feel like we've seen so many different versions of each other. And so it's so comforting to see two characters who are kind of struggling to come back together after like growing through so many stages of life and almost like becoming or trying to become different people, or like just different versions of themselves, but like still stay together while doing so, if that makes sense. So I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm gonna sit here and finish up this book. I have been reading for, I think about like 4 hours and 20 minutes ish. I have 19 hours and 37 minutes left on the timer. So hopefully that math checks out. If not, that's so embarrassing and let's just not say anything about it. But yeah, I think I'm reading this a little bit slower than I normally would, but I think it's also just because I'm like giggling and hee-heeing and highlighting literally so many different things and just like taking my time with it and enjoying myself. And I'm also proud to say that I only have gotten distracted for about like 30 minutes of that 4 hour and 20 minute reading period, which I have to say is very successful for myself. So let's continue reading. I will probably check in with you guys after I get the kids from school. for another reading update. It's currently 12:03 p.m. so it's been quite a while since my last update because I last updated you guys around like 2 o'clock and it was like before I was gonna go get the kids from school. After that I went to get some food because I realized that I hadn't eaten all day and I started getting a headache, so I went to Salad and Go, read a little bit with the kids when they got home, and then I ended up pausing the timer for like 2.5 hours because I went driving around with my mom and we looked at this neighborhood that I recently found that I think we would like to eventually buy a house in. It's just so pretty, so we did that. I just, you know, took a little break, and then after getting back home I ended up finishing Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young, and also I just finished The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, so I want to kind of give my final thoughts and ratings on these books. I currently have 13 hours and 9 minutes left on my timer, which is pretty good. I kind of usually aim to do like 2 12-hour days whenever I do the 24-hour reading challenges, so I feel like I could read for another hour. I'm not sure if I want to do that though, or just try and get up earlier tomorrow and like start off the day earlier, because I didn't even start the challenge today until like 9:30 or 10 in the morning, I think. So I'm thinking if I'm able to get up a little bit earlier and start a few hours earlier, I could also do that instead. So we'll just have to see how I'm feeling once I'm done yapping about these books, because I don't know. But starting off with Out of the Woods, this is a 5-star for me. This was so good. I genuinely have no complaints about this book, like nothing but good things to say. I feel like this book is just like heavy on communication. Like this entire thing genuinely just felt like one big fat therapy session, but like in the best way. I feel like if you're not really into books where it's like very conversation heavy, you might not like this, but I really liked that aspect. Also, what I will say, because I know I talked about this being like a then and now perspective, the way that like grief is talked about in this book and like the way that our character kind of handles her grief and talks about her grief, I feel like was just like so well written and so meaningful and like beautifully written. And I really liked the way that it was told, because through the then and now perspective, obviously in the first half of the book, like the then perspective was like her meeting her now husband when they were like 14 and like the start of their relationship and stuff like that. But in the very beginning of this book, you are told that our female main character's mom had died whenever she was in high school, and so in the then perspective you're kind of like leading up to her mom passing away and then kind of how she has navigated losing her mom ever since then and how that's like affected her even up until the now perspective. Also, something that I didn't realize before starting this book was that the two main characters that are in this book are actually in the first interconnected book, which is Out on a Limb. And it's so funny because whenever I read Out on a Limb, like these two characters were just such like silly, goofy, fun side characters that it's so interesting that their book is so like real and raw and like deeply emotional, because I feel like at first glance when you see them in that book, they just seem like they have everything put together and they're very much kind of like the comedic relief in that book whenever things are getting a little bit stressful or emotional or whatever it is. So it's interesting to like have the juxtaposition of them being like the comedic relief to now them having their own story and like it being a lot more serious and emotional and them having to like work through and talk through all of these issues. But I really liked getting to see like that different side of them, like the more serious side. And also one thing that I will say about Hannah Bonham Young's writing, now that I've read 2 of her books and they've both been 5 stars back to back, I just really like her writing style and the way that she writes her like conversations and banter between characters, because the conversations and banter just feel so believable and so real. And honestly, she's so good at writing like subtle comedy in the way that it's like the characters aren't telling jokes, it's just like real life things that happen and are objectively funny, I guess, if that makes sense. Like obviously there's some jokes and stuff in it, but like I don't even know how to explain it. I feel like the best way to explain it is like the scene that I was telling you about earlier where he's like dragging her across camp and she's like, oh, my water bottle, go get my water bottle. Like it's just little things like that where I'm like, I was genuinely laughing out loud because I just think it's so funny. So something about the way that she writes humor into her books also just like works perfectly with me. In both this book and Out on a Limb, I found myself like actually smiling, giggling, laughing out loud, like really enjoying myself. Like I don't have a single bad thing to say about this book. I really enjoyed it. I found so many little things to tab, mainly again just like things that they would say in conversation that I felt like were really relatable or reminded me of Marky or were just like therapy bars that she was spitting. So yeah, I really liked this. 5 stars. I am so excited to read my next Hannah Bonham Young book. I actually recently went and got People Watching, which I am a little bit nervous about People Watching because I feel like that one has had really mixed reviews and like a lot of people have said that it's very different than her other books that they've read, so I'm very interested excited to see if I end up liking that one as much as I have liked Out on a Limb and Out of the Woods. We'll see. I don't know if People Watching is part of this like interconnected book series though, because like this one and Out on a Limb obviously had like kind of the same group of characters, but like I don't think either of those two characters are like, I don't know if they're like part of this world at all. So I'll have to look that up and see if they're connected at all, or if that's like kind of the start of a new little interconnected thing that she's doing, or if it's just a complete standalone. I don't know, but very, very happy that I read this. I had a great time today. I literally just had my like reading ambiance on all day. I put on the little Spotify playlist that somebody had made for this, and the vibes were just immaculate. It was great. It was just good vibes, start to finish. Love it so much. So that was this one. And then I also ended up finishing The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. This one I did an immersive read because for the past few weeks, like probably honestly the past like month and a half, this has been my car audiobook, and I love to do this where I just like pick an audiobook to play every single time that I'm in the car. And I take a lot of short drives where I just like take the kids to school, run to get a couple of groceries or something, and so this has been my audiobook. But it was just getting so good that I was like, okay, I honestly just want to sit down and be in the book and be in the world in a consistent time period, if that makes sense, instead of like splitting it up for the rest of the book through like my random car drives. I just wanted to like sit down and finish it all in one go. So that is what I did. I listened to the audiobook and read along with this one for the last like 150 pages, I think it was, or like 200 pages. This was so good. Honestly, I feel like I completely understand when I would hear people talk about this book and be like, no, like Mariana Zapata knows how to write a true like asshole man and then still somehow make you love him, because this man started off like picturing where we started off. I was like, no, there's no way, like there's no way that I'm gonna end up liking this man, because the way that he would act is so like, I don't even know, I guess standoffish, or just like, you know, like they call him the Wall of Winnipeg because of his football position, but I feel like it's also kind of like a play on his personality, because he just like, he has a straight face all the time, like to the point where like she worked for him for like 2 years and had never seen him smile, and then like 300 pages into the book she saw him smile for the first time, and it was followed by like a 3-paragraph monologue of her in her head spiraling about how hot his smile is, and she's never seen it before. And it was like, but I love that. Like I really, really liked that. And when I tell you, genuinely, this book makes me feel like I have never truly read a slow burn before, because hold on, this is all build up. This is when they get together. And I was eating it up. I was absolutely eating up. There was one scene like towards, I guess kind of towards the middle of the book, where our main character was having a panic attack over something that she has like kind of, honestly I feel like it's like PTSD over, and it kind of triggered her anxiety and she's like having a panic attack. This man literally spent like 4 pages just so perfectly talking her through it and like being there for her. And like I feel like this book has so many moments like that, where it's like, it's just so many little moments through the characters that build up into this like really, really meaningful and special relationship. And I feel like that's what makes it really, really believable. And that's the one thing that I will say that I feel like I have taken away from Mariana Zapata's writing style in this book, is that she really gives her characters room to breathe when it comes to like their thought process and their conversations. And I think I did mention this before, but that's something I really, really liked about this book, is like, yes, her books are long, but I feel like because of how well she writes the characters' monologues in their heads, or like the conversations and things like that, it doesn't feel unnecessarily long. Like I feel like she leaves in the perfect amount of letting the characters show their whole overthinking process, and like, oh my god, she's panicking, let me take you through her whole spiral, but it doesn't, it just feels so believable. Like I don't know, I just feel like everything serves a purpose, even though there's like a ton of conversation and a ton of like, again, just like the character's inner monologue. I feel like at no point through this book did it feel like, okay, like the story's dragging on. Like it all just felt like the perfect amount for the story, and like exactly what the story needed and exactly what the characters needed. Every single conversation that they had, like everything just felt like it served a purpose to like reach where we got in the story, and I really, really liked it. I think that my final rating for this is going to be like 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to read another Mariana Zapata book. The other one that I have is All Roads Lead Here, because I got like the little Eternal Embers bundle that had this one and that one in it, so I'm really excited to read that one. I had decided to start with this one because I was more excited to read All Roads Lead Here, and so I thought maybe it would be better to start with the one I'm like less excited about, which I was still excited to read this one, but you get what I'm saying. Leave the higher anticipated one for after. But I'm really excited to get into that one now that I know that I do enjoy Mariana Zapata's writing style, and also now that I've read one of her books, I feel like obviously I have a little bit more of an idea of like what the vibes are going to be going into the book. It's like once you've read an author, you kind of have a better idea of what to expect when starting one of their books, whereas going into this one, it's like a brand new author for me, and so it's like you don't really know what the vibes are going to be, especially like writing style wise. So these were really good. That's been a really good day of reading, honestly. So like I said, we have like about an hour left before we'll reach 12 hours for today, a little bit less now that I've been talking for so long. These are the 3 books that I have left on today's TBR. We have Light Lark, Two Wrongs Make a Right, and Ready or Not. I don't know what I'm in the mood for because I really don't ever read this much contemporary romance, especially back to back to back. So part of me is like, I want to read Ready or Not because for some reason I'm just like in such a big contemporary romance mood, and like I don't know why, because I literally am usually like fantasy, maybe a romance, more fantasy, maybe throw in a thriller here and there, and then straight back to fantasy. But right now I'm just like, I don't know, like I just feel like I'm in the mood for more contemporary romance because the last few that I've read have just been like absolute bangers. So I was able to get all 3 of these on my Kindle from the library, which is such a surprise, honestly, because lately I have just been taking such L's with my library where like everything has like several month wait. So I feel very lucky to have been able to secure copies for all 3 of these on my Kindle. So I really can start any 3 of these. I really want to read a Kindle book right now because it is really late and I just want to like get cozy in bed and then be able to like fall asleep reading a book. Honestly, that's like my favorite thing in the world. So I don't know. I think maybe I'm gonna start Ready or Not because I feel like this is the one I'm gravitating towards the most, and if I can't get into it super quickly, I might switch over to Two Wrongs Make a Right, but I'm hoping that I can just kind of get into this one no issue, because then also I'm like, do I want to start Light Lark? Like, I don't know. So I'll let you guys know tomorrow morning what I end up reading because I feel like I'm still undecided, and I'm honestly just gonna open up all 3 of the ebooks and then see which vibe is sticking, I guess. I don't know. I'll probably honestly only read for maybe 30 minutes and then get up early tomorrow morning to start our day 2 of the 24-hour reading challenge. Okay, it is the next day. I finished my 1 hour of reading last night. I only made it, I think it was like 33 pages into, what is that called? Ready or Not? And it started off okay. It didn't necessarily grip me as fast as like Out on a Limb did, which is like, I feel like a very similar premise. However, one thing I didn't know about Ready or Not, which I don't have the book, it's in my room, so we're just gonna talk about it here without it. But one thing I didn't realize about it was that it's a surprise pregnancy, but the male main character of the book is not the father. You are not the father. So I just thought that that was very interesting and a little bit of tea. That did make me a little bit more interested because it's like, I don't know, I'm just very interested to see how the male main character is written and if it's actually believable that he's like very interested in her. It's like her best friend's older brother. So it's like best friend's older brother surprise pregnancy trope. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out and how he kind of comes in to like play a more prominent role in everything, especially just given everything that she's going to be going through. So yeah, I really haven't made it too far into the book though to have any real thoughts or opinions. I just thought that that was interesting because I did not know that going into the book. Literally all I knew about it was that it's a surprise pregnancy. So I read that last night, and then I finished my 1 hour, and then I went to bed and I never turned off my timer. So I woke up this morning and it was like, you only have like 5 hours left or something like that. And I was like, you're lying. I definitely have like a full 12 hours left. So I ended up restarting a 12-hour timer. Looks like I accidentally did 12 hours in 1 second. But I started a 12-hour timer. I didn't get up as early as I was hoping to this morning. We just completely slept through all of our alarms. So I got up, got the kids ready for school, took them to school, and then I started the timer. I read for about an hour, but then I had to pause the timer to do like some computer stuff this morning. And then I restarted the timer, read for a couple more hours, and we now have 10 minutes, or no, 10 hours and 3 minutes and 3 seconds left on our timer for today. So this morning I have been reading a little bit of Lightlark. I woke up just like in a fantasy mood. I was originally going to just pick up Ready or Not and continue on with that since I had started that last night, but I'm trying to just mood read my way through it, and I was in a much more just fantasy mood this morning, and this is the only fantasy that we had on the TBR. So I figured I would go ahead and start it, and so far this is so good. Going into this book completely blind, or like pretty much blind, because I guess I did have like a pretty base idea of like what it was about as far as it involving like the magical island and like them having to do trials and competing for like a magical prize and things like that. But I feel like the way that it's set up in the beginning of the book is so interesting. Like literally 97% of these tabs, all from the first part of the book, are all just from like really interesting character setup or like plot setup. And especially because I know going into this that it's a very long series. Like I think I said this actually, I think she's on book 4 and people think there's going to be 5 books in the series. So because of that also, when I first started this book, I was trying to like really pay extra attention to when different characters were introduced, the descriptions of all the different types of magical powers that we have going on depending on which realm you're from, because basically there's like 6 different realms, and I believe it was like 500 years ago there was like a curse that was cast on all the different 5 realms, and each different realm has a different curse put upon them. So like our main character, she is a wildling, and they were basically cursed with like extreme beauty and like seductive skills, but on the other hand of that, like they can never fall in love. Anyone that they ever fall in love with will die essentially, which that really reminded me of Once Upon a Broken Heart, like Jax's whole thing, except for he's like if he kisses anyone they'll die, except it's kind of opposite actually because his one true love will survive, but you get what I'm saying. And then they have to like survive off of human hearts, like that is like what they eat. But there's like different curses, like the sun realm, I think they're called the sun something, like we're just gonna call them the sun realm I guess. They are cursed to not be able to see the thing that gives them their power, aka the sun. So they essentially had to become nocturnal and can only roam about at night. And for like the night shades, I think it's what it's called, they're kind of like the opposite because they used to be nocturnal and really enjoy the nighttime, and like they get their powers I think from the night or the dark or something, and they can only roam about during the daytime, similar things like that. But it's really interesting. I feel like the lore behind each of the kingdoms and all their different magic styles was really intriguing. And in the very beginning of the book, you were basically told that because of the curse 500 years ago, every 100 years, obviously the island of Lightlark, the storm goes away or something, and they hold a competition. And every single year, because I was a little bit confused, like okay, if they hold a competition every single year and at the end there's like a magical price where you can break the curse on everyone, like this is like the 5th time now, like why has it not been broken then? Like has nobody gotten to the prize at the end? Like what is going on? I was a little bit confused about that. But I guess there's kind of like they're trying to figure out still how to break the curse. They only know a couple key components on how to break the curse, and that's why it still hasn't been broken, and that's why they keep having the games every 100 years. So each year they kind of like learn a new piece of information about how to break the curse, and then they go back into the games trying to break the curse. And like the 6 people that are in the games are the 6 rulers of the realms. I think the main thing that they have learned so far about the curse is that like one of the rulers of the realm will have to die in order for the curse to be able to break for everybody. But the scary thing about that is that once one of the rulers of the realm dies, like so does everybody else that is like part of that realm. So it's like a huge loss, like a huge price to pay in order to break the curse. But I don't know, I just think that the setup of the story and the island of Lightlark and all of the magic and everything is just a lot more interesting than I was anticipating. Like I knew that I would probably like this based off of like everyone's reviews that I've heard, and obviously like everybody that has read the series literally loves it. So I did have very high expectations and I expected to like it, but I guess I just didn't expect it to have such an interesting like world building right in the beginning of the book. And like even just like meeting all the different characters, all of the different rulers of the realm, like once the competition officially started and we kind of started getting getting introduced to a bunch of the other rulers that were entering the competition. Like, it's so good so far. And also, I have officially been introduced to both Grimm and Oro, who are like the two main male characters that people are like either Team Grimm or Team Oro. So far, I feel like I'm not fully leaning one way or another. I feel like there have been a couple of moments for each of them that have made me be like, wait, you know? So like, I don't know which way I'm gonna go. I think that people have said that it kind of like by each book, you kind of swap which team you're on depending on like what happens in each book. But because this is the first one, I feel very like on each side. And they're both almost similar in a way, but like not. And it's very interesting too that it's like a love triangle situation. They're kind of going against each other because Oro is like the prince. He's either the prince or the king of Lightlark, and he is like are they called sun wielders? Like, I literally cannot remember. And then Grimm is a nightshade. So like they're very much exact opposites. So I'm very, very excited to get farther into the book and see kind of what happens with that. But I love fantasy books where it's like I'm equally as invested in the plot and like the world, everything that's going on there, as the romance. I feel like that's like my perfect blend of fantasy. I obviously love romance, I love romantasy, I love all of that stuff, but like I feel like a lot of my favorite fantasies have that like perfect blend where the romance and the plot is like equally as important and equally as entertaining, and you kind of like have moments in the book where one obviously is like in the forefront but equally as good. So I'm gonna sit here. I have about an hour and a half before I have to get the kids from school, so I'm gonna sit at the table, read for a bit until I get them from school. Honestly, just try and binge a bunch of this and get further in, and I will check in with you guys in a little bit once we've read for a few more hours. I'm here for another update. If you hear so many noises in the background during this talking clip, that's just, you know, that's just how it's going to be because the kids are home from school. Marky has his friend over right now and they're all going to be building like a robot together or something in the kitchen. The kids are very excited. The dogs... The dogs are, well, not the dogs, Bentley. Bentley just barks so much. He's a very reactive dog. My kids are very reactive children. They express all of their excited emotions in yelling, screaming, jumping, all of the things. So just ignore that. I'm going to be huddled up in my room reading while they're doing that, having some STEM time, I guess, building a robot. This is where I want to be though, because we currently have, I paused the timer because I knew I was about to talk. We currently have 6 hours and 19 minutes left on the timer. We're going to be ending today's reading so much later than I was expecting to because I've just had to pause the timer so many times today, whether it was to go pick up the kids from school or to get like some work stuff done on my computer. So I was originally supposed to be able to finish my 12 hours of reading today around like 9 o'clock p.m. I don't think I'm going to finish my reading for today until like 12 at least, but honestly that's okay because I'm still just like in a really good reading mood. Like I've just really enjoyed, like I love doing the 24-hour reading challenges and specifically like the 2 12-hour days because it is like a challenge specifically for my ADHD to be able to sit down and focus on it for the 12 hours straight, but it's not so long like doing the 24 hours straight where it kind of like burns me out and makes me like not in a reading mood anymore by the time that I'm done with it. It kind of does the opposite and like motivates me to read even more. So love the vibes, but I'm currently almost done with Lightlark. I only have, I think, just under 50 pages left, and I had to pause the book and do an update because the part that I just read, I literally literally, I sat there with my mouth open and I like got up from the table and I was like, no, like I actually just need a break because what do you mean? What do you mean? If you've read this book, you probably know what part I just got to, and I'm like afraid to keep reading, but also not, because I'm like, okay, there's so much more that is going to happen in this series because like I know how many books it's gonna be. So like that makes me less scared, but I'm just like also at the same time I'm like, but how are we going to get out of this predicament that we have just entered into? So I wanted to finish the book alongside with you guys since I have kind of just hit a crazy little plot twist towards the end of the book. I guess it's not like a plot twist, it's just a crazy event. Something crazy has happened. I need to finish the book with you guys and see what's gonna happen, and then after I finish up this last teeny tiny little bit of the book, I will give you guys my final rating and thoughts for the book. So far it's going really, really good. I feel like this is a really, really strong first book to a series. Right now I'm leaning more towards like a 4.5, 4.75 star, but it's so close. Like it's so close. I'm teeter-tottering. So I need to like see how it ends, see what happens in this last bit, and then I will be able to give you my final rating and kind of some of my thoughts on the book. So let's really quickly finish Lightlark, and then I think after that I'm going to get back into Ready or Not. So very excited for our reading plans for tonight. Okay. So that's gonna be a 5-star. That was so good. I did not see quite literally anything in the last 50 pages of this book happening, and it was so good. Like, it was so good. But even if we're just purely going based off of plot, like leaving romance out of it, that was just so good. I feel like the world was built up so well. I feel like the lore and the magic was built up so well. The characters were all so believable, and like you cared so much about like what was gonna happen. And not only that, but like the love triangle thing, I feel like this is the first love triangle that I've read in a while. style where I genuinely, there's such a good case for her to choose either of them. And honestly, I feel like at the end of this, like by the end of this book, I feel like I should fully be Team Oro. Why am I actually like still leaning towards Grimm though? If you've read this book, I feel like that will fully make sense. I'm very interested to read the next book and see what's going to happen because it didn't necessarily leave off on a cliffhanger, but I just feel like I need more. Like I need more. I need to see what's, yeah, that was so good. That was so good. I'm so glad that I finally read it and I can't wait to read the next book. I can't believe we found another 5-star. I feel like my reads have been so good lately. This was so good. I literally just cannot believe the way that ended. I was fully, like, actually genuinely shook. So that is that. Also, I am just now realizing that I fully forgot to start my timer back up. I'm doing horrible with the timer this time. So I think that took me about an hour and 20 minutes to finish. So I'm just gonna take an hour and 19 off and make it an even 5 hours left just to make the math easy, I guess. Hopefully that's accurate. I have no idea. I've been so bad with pausing and starting the timer, but it will be fine, you know, whatever. What I'm going to do, because the ending of this book was just crazy. Like I literally, at one point I was trying to read and I was just like, I have whiplash. I'm in shock. This is crazy. It's such a good ending. Like I know I just keep saying the same thing, but it's like, I don't know what else I can say because I don't want to literally spoil a singular thing because going into this blind and having no idea what I was in for was such a fun experience. It was just so good. It was so good. I highly recommend picking this up. I cannot wait to get further into the series. I'm just so curious as to what it's going to be about because of the way this ended and it's not like a full cliffhanger. So I'm like, where is it going to go? Genuinely, where is it going to go? I have no idea, but I'm so excited for it. So anyway, I'm going to run to the gas station. I'm going to get a little soda. I'm going to get a little snack and then I'm going to crawl back into bed, open up my Kindle, and I think I'm going to pick up Ready or Not. I'm kind of going back and forth between if I want to read that or Two Wrongs Make a Right, I think is what it's called. I'm assuming that whichever one I pick up is going to be the last book that I read. Not assuming. I have 5 hours left in the challenge, so I don't even know if I'll finish whatever book we pick up next. I'm hoping to. Maybe we'll go a little bit over the 24 hours to finish the book just so that we can get my final thoughts on the last book that we read as well. I don't know what I want it to be though, so I think I might just read the first couple pages of Two Wrongs Make a Right because I already started Ready or Not last night, so I already know the vibes of that book, but I kind of just want to read the first few pages of Two Wrongs Make a Right to see the vibes, and then once I do that, I feel like I'll be able to choose better like what I'm more in the mood for. I do feel like after reading a fantasy, like I kind of got my fantasy fix, and I am really excited to kind of like curl up in bed with another contemporary romance because I'm just like in my contemporary romance era. I don't know why. Like all year I literally have not really been in the mood for that many contemporary romances. Like they just have not been hitting, and then all of a sudden the past 2 weeks it's like that's all I'm in the mood for. So I'm very excited to get into one of those. You'll see soon which one I end up going with. I have no idea in this current moment what I'm gonna do, but all I do know that I'm gonna do is go and get a soda and a snack. So okay, I have an update because I read to page 41 of Two Wrongs Make a Right, and I read to page, what page was that? 33 of Ready or Not. I don't know, the vibes, I'm not feeling the vibes for either of them. Not that they were bad, like I didn't dislike them, but like I'm trying to just mood read and I don't feel like I'm fully in the mood for either of those books. So I paused the timer and spent the next, 25 minutes just looking over my physical TBR and trying to think, what am I in the mood for? Still in the mood for a romance? Do I have any other romances on my shelves that I'm in the mood for right now, and also that I have really high expectations for? Like I think it's gonna be a 5-star. And I randomly remembered I'm currently on Reckless by Elsie Silver, I think it's the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series. I recently read my very first 5-star book in the Chestnut Springs series, Powerless by Elsie Silver. A lot of people say that Reckless is their favorite book in the series, and then right under that, Powerless. So I am very interested to see if Reckless will be a 5-star for me. It is another surprise pregnancy trope, so that kind of works because have been really enjoying that trope lately. I feel like a lot of the books that I have been kind of, what is that word, like leaning towards or like drawn towards, I guess might be the word, have been like the surprise pregnancy trope or like second chance marriage, whatever. But I forgot that I was on that book. I really am excited to read that one, and I have high expectations that it will be a 5-star, possibly my favorite in the series like everybody else. I don't know, I'm very intrigued to see see. And I had actually started it like forever ago. So I just opened it up because it's on Kindle Unlimited. So I opened it up on my Kindle just to see like where I was. I literally was like 20 pages into the book, and then I read the next few pages just to see if like that's the vibe for right now. And I was already like giggling at their banter, and I knew that this is what I want to read right now. This is what I'm in the mood for. So currently on page 21, 6% into the book from whenever I had started this literally like months ago. I think I read the first 20 pages actually right after I read Powerless, which would have been in like the very end of August going into September, and then I just forgot about it. But I'm really glad now that I remembered, because I think that this is exactly what I'm in the mood for. I am excited because it's a contemporary romance. It is a book that I think is going to be 5 stars, so it perfectly fits our vibe for this 24-hour reading challenge. My Kindle did say that I had around like 5 hours and something left in the book. Now it says learning reading speed, so I don't know if she's confused, because I've been going back and forth between all the books trying to check where I was in each of them. But I don't think that I'm going to be able to finish this book within like the 24-hour time period, like the amount of time that we have left, because it's just like a couple hours, I'm pretty sure, because I just don't read that fast. So I might end up going a little bit over the 24 hours, or I might end up just finishing this book in the next vlog. I would like to finish it in this vlog. I don't really feel too tired yet. It is only 9:30, so that could very quickly change, especially as I get cozy in bed for the night. But I needed to update you guys because I was sitting here and I was like, I don't know, I just feel like I am kind of not in the mood for the other 2 books that we had on our initial TBR. And I don't know what it is, honestly. I feel like that's the thing with mood reading, is like, I don't know why I don't feel like I'm in the mood, or why the vibes aren't necessarily vibing with those books. But I am just very glad that we were able to find another book that I have on my physical TBR that I have high hopes for. So that's the update, just real quick. That's what I'm going to be jumping into. Like I said, we're already 22 pages into the book. We're gonna get a little further. If you don't know what Reckless is about, like I said, surprise pregnancy trope. It basically follows one of the Eaton brothers. If you know the Chestnut Spring series, it's basically like a family ranch, and each of the books follows a different one of the siblings from the family that owns the ranch. So the FMC of this book is the sister to one of the girls who married one of the guys in one of the previous books. She ends up hooking up with one of the Eaton brothers, gets pregnant. The story goes from there. Very excited for this. I think I'm really gonna like it. I really like Elsie Silver's writing. It's like super easy to get into, super entertaining. I love her banter between the characters, and I'm really excited to see this book too, because like the FMC in this book is very much like a grumpy, and so I think the guy's gonna be the sunshine, so it's like kind of reverse than how it normally is. And I'm really excited to see her character in this book, because she has been kind of like a side character in all of the other books. So I'm excited to get to see her character through the perspective of her being like the main character, and really get to see like a lot more insight into her background and like her thought process behind things, and like her character growth and everything like that. So, and apparently the MMC in this book is like everybody's absolute favorite. So I'm really excited to get to see them together, get to see more of them in general. So let's get into Reckless by Elsie Silver. Okay, hello you guys. It's actually been a few days. So our 24-hour reading challenge is officially over, but I realized that I never came to update you about how far I got into Reckless. I did not end up finishing Reckless. I ended up making it to chapter 13, so about 128 pages into Reckless. Like I said, I didn't end up finishing it. I am really enjoying it so far, and I still actually do think that this really has potential to be a 5-star book. I'm really excited to get farther into this and finish it. So far, I'm really liking it. The one thing I know about this book is that before I had read it, I remember people saying like it's a surprise pregnancy, but not in the way that you would expect. There's like a twist on it, I guess. Winston always just comes and sits on the camera while I'm trying to record it. There's like a twist on it, and it doesn't go the way that you would expect. Like, it's surprise pregnancy, but not in the way that you would expect. And I remember hearing that and being like, what does that even mean? Like, genuinely, what do you mean? But then when I finally did like start it and get farther into it, I was like, oh, I get it. So I'm really intrigued to see how that kind of plays out, because it is like very different, but I think I'm liking it so far. And so far I really like the main characters of this book, so I'm very excited to get farther in. But that does bring us to the end end of this 24-hour reading challenge. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I honestly had so much fun filming this and found so many good reads out of this video as well. If you did enjoy this video and you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future content from me. Also, a huge thank you to all of my patrons over on the Patreon book club. If you are interested in joining the Patreon book club, the link to that is always in my description box down below as well. Every single month we read our book club book pick together. This month it is Our Infinite Fates. We do live reading sprints, exclusive video content over there, so much fun stuff, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. But that's pretty much all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!